Okay, this is the walk around startup video for the 2006 Suzuki SV650S, and I have more modifications and extras on this than I paid for the bike, although the engine is entirely stock for reliability. Everything else has been upgraded, and I'll try and cover those items in no order, just as I see them. All the work was done by EDR Racing in Portland, Oregon, down Beaverton. You'll note that the first thing I'll show you is the M4 high-rise tucked inside exhaust system. It's stainless headers and then to the exhaust can. And when EDR did this install, they did modifications on the original M4, which is originally located to replace the passenger pegs, but they did it to where it's tucked in tight behind the passenger peg for not only a better look, but then the passenger peg can be like a case saver and save the system if you were ever to go down, although the bike has never gone down. I also installed the swing arm spools so that you can use a center stand for quick on and off instead of trying to fiddle around with the swing arm itself. With the exhaust system, EDR installed a power commander and a high flow air filter. And if you look at the pictures in the auction text, you'll see the dyno charts where the black line in the middle shows 50% RPMs, and the gain was 20% gain in horsepower and torque at 50% RPMs, and about a 7% gain in horsepower at 50% RPMs, which is what I was after. I wanted, it put out the most power in the mid-range where you're driving on the street, not trying to set it up like a race bike. Also installed was a fender elimination kit, and I will show you this later, but it's all LED, and when you use the turn signal, the reds turn to yellow, so it's really clean. If you're looking at this bike, you are aware, I'm sure, that it's fuel injected, so it makes startup very easy. And on both sides I have the frame savers installed to protect the tank and the fairing pieces. You'll note here we have heated grips installed, and very Sano switch. Off is in the center, down is low, and up is high. As sanitary as any factory setup I've seen. It has a zero gravity windshield, which is about 4 or 5 inches higher, and I'll do this, you'll see it better on the walk around, but I have installed ultra bright white Pia motorcycle H4 headlights on both sides. The suspension was set up by GP suspension, and in here you can see $1,000 Penske shock, and the suspension weight was dialed in for about 185 pounds, which was the operator and operator gear, but it's easily adjusted up and down 25-30 pounds from that setting fairly quickly. GP suspension also rebuilt or redid the front forks and improved the dampening and a number of other things, and if you look at the pictures you'll be able to see the invoice for that. As I mentioned, the bike has never been down. We have tank stoppers on both sides so you can just grip with your inside of your knees when you're going through corners and just become one with the bike. Another $800 ad was the Corbin Smuggler seat system, and what this does is it gives you a large place to store stuff instead of having to use a tank bag, and it is lockable. So if you're ever pulled over, you can just tell the police that, you know, you don't consent to searches, and anything that's in your locked trunk is nothing that you're willing to let them see unless they have probable cause. You can look at the tank. As I said, everything is like brand new on the bike. It has 4,300 miles on it, and the new set of tires, the tires that are on here now were installed about 200 miles ago. So we'll just do the walk around. It also has brake pad upgrades, which you'll see in the auction text, and the Versas, I believe they're called. They really give you a lot more bite. Also, we're installed with stainless steel brake lines on the dual front disc brakes. And you can look at the front brake. You touch it, there is no ridge at all, because most of this has just been street riding. Check out the engine cases. It has fresh oil and filter, fresh coolant. With 4,300 miles, the first air cleaner change they call for is at 11,000, so that's not been done. And the first valve check is at 16,000, and that hasn't been needed either. But be sure and look at the auction text, because there'll be more information in there than is on this video, and vice versa. So this bike here, if you're looking for the least expensive SV650 for commuting, then this is probably not your bike. But if you want a bike, if you want an SV650 that is set up like this bike, then it will be a bike that you'll love, and all you have to do is ride it. However, I'm not going to sell it, you know, based on what high mile plain Jane Blue Book would go for. It's going to be sold for about 50% of what I'm into the bike, and I've already said I put in more in add-ons than I paid for the bike. So that's it, and I will next shoot some pictures, and I'll start it up, although with fuel injection that's really not an issue, but we can check all the lights and stuff. Hang on. Okay. So you can see the miles at 4331. There's no fading on the instruments, on the hand controls. And here are the ultra bright Pias, which in the daytime obviously don't show up as much, but there is the low beam, there is the high beam, and you have the two running lights on both sides. You can see the tail lights. Again, in daytime, the LEDs, you know, they show up miraculously at night. And you see with the left turn signal how they go from red to yellow to indicate you're turning left. The front one works. Go front right and back on the rear right. Horn works. So there you go. Thanks for looking.